So welcome back on the inside. If you're just joining us, you're locked on to the Street 909 FM. This is your Titans of Democracy with Dominic, Romain, and Bruce Wayne. Yes, Dominic.
Yes, sir.
So.
Confirm.
Huh?
Confirm. I see another one of our athletes, Tyra Gittins. I was hoping that she too would have medaled, but in the long jump, unfortunately, she finished 10th.
Yeah.
But she did so with her personal best, so, can't fault them for doing their best. And I think she's based in Canada.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I'm looking for something here, right, let's see if I get it here. Yeah, so on Sunday, Central would have called in to chastise Mr. Chance. He says, Mr. Chance trying hard to convince the country that Trinidad and Tobago was not downgraded by Standard & Poor's. And when he said that, I had to throw my mind back to a time when the People's Partnership was in office. And they received that downgrading, and Larry Hawaii, the Minister of Finance, was all over the place trying to convince people that, the downgrading was unfair and whatnot and stuff. Let me see if I find this here. It's an article dated Friday, May 8th, 2015. This would have been 4 months before the general election. It's entitled Downgrade Needs More Analysis. In the wake of the downgrade of TNT by Moody's Investor Services, Finance Minister Larry Hawaii met this week with representatives of the business and finance sectors to give government's perspective on the country's fiscal affairs. At both meetings, Hawaii reiterated that government does not agree with the analysis by the world-reputed credit rating agency and insisted that the TNT economy remains strong. However, some of the business and financial leaders who took part in the dialogue said there is need for deeper analysis of the Moody's report by the government and the private sector. I remember that. Hawaii and Kamla all over the place that the rating was unfair and yada, 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 and, all of that. And, yeah. Apparently Central forgot about that. But I just want to let them know, you see, it is important, if you're going to comment on these things, that you have some level of understanding of how these ratings operate, rather than you formulate your own understanding in your mind and then problems, you see. Because, so let me just elucidate a little bit for him. There are two aspects to the rating. There's the credit rating, and then there's the outlook aspect, right? S&P's rating affirms Trinidad and Tobago's credit rating as investment grade. There are different gradings, and it affirms that Trinidad and Tobago is still a good country to lend money to, as evidenced by the fact that we keep hearing constantly from members of the opposition about how much money the government borrowing. And yes, they're getting the loans at favorable rates. However, they're borrowing too much and all of that. And they're increasing the debt to GDP ratio. Half of the supporters don't even know what the hell GDP mean. But all they're talking at debt to GDP ratio, and they call any radio station, yes. Ask them what GDP mean, they can't tell you. Explain debt to GDP for me. You can't. That, but you're all over the place singing that song. So as I said, there's two aspects there. The credit rating. So this is what international lenders would look at and try to determine, should we lend Trinidad and Tobago money? Is there a risk that Trinidad and Tobago would not be able to repay its sovereign debts, right? Below that is junk status, right, which says that Trinidad and Tobago, which would say that Trinidad and Tobago is at increased risk, and therefore tread lightly. And if it is that you are going to lend them money, you need to lend them at the highest rates possible to offset that risk that you're taking by lending them money. As far as I know, Trinidad and Tobago has never defaulted on any of its international obligations, debt obligations, right? And what Standard & Poor's would have looked at as well is the issue of our foreign reserve holdings. So they have looked at our foreign reserves and the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. I mean, when you combine the two, you're looking at close to just around 12 billion US dollars. So that there is cushion, right, in terms of being able to access US in the short term to repay some of our debts. Now, I was listening to a program yesterday on Louis Leasing's, I think it's Louis Leasing's station on cable, and there's a program called Talking Points. And, the two hosts were listing all of the different loans that the government take and whatnot. And there needs to be an understanding, Bruce, that when it comes to accessing of credit, that while credit facilities may present themselves, it does not necessarily mean that the government has accessed these loans as yet, right? And there needs to be that differentiation, that loan facilities may be extended to the government, and the government is aware, look, we have access to these things if and when it is that we need it. But I heard them reading out a whole list at how much money and loan for this and loan for that to treat with COVID and whatnot and all of these things. And you need to let the people know, did the government access all of these loan facilities? Instead of you creating a narrative that the government gets so much money and what they do with the money. And that's what the UNC has been talking about. Oh, the government get how much billions of dollars to treat with COVID. As I told you, one man say $418 billion that the government spent on COVID. 8 years worth of a budget. You telling me that the government spent in 15 months? Really? So to come back to Central's query, the other part, as I told you, so is one part deals with the credit rating, and the other part focuses on the outlook. And the outlook, based on certain macroeconomic fundamentals, says that the outlook right now is negative. We know what's happening in the energy sector. Again, something that the government has little to no control over, because there has been a reduction in the production of natural gas, right, from approximately 4.1 billion scf per day down to about 2.9, which, I mean, it is cause for concern. But what I find unfortunate, Bruce, is that, so let me finish on that point. So, but the outlook is based on circumstances at a particular point in time. And we know that anything can happen to change these things, to improve our circumstance. And then, because from time to time, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, Fitch, all of these different rating agencies would look at the country's position. Given the fact that we rely heavily on oil and gas, the energy sector still continues to be a main contributor to government revenues. And therefore, if there is any downturn in that particular sector, obviously, it's going to affect us.
True. Part
of the rating would have looked at, okay, coming back to the issue of debt to GDP ratio, and as you said, okay, I got down. Yeah, Corey. I'm going to live my life. So, yeah.
You no longer said that, waiting for you to see it.
Yeah. But they have to decide when it is that the UNC tries to create a scenario that the debt to GDP ratio is increasing simply because of the level of government borrowing. And that's not necessarily the case. You also have to look at the other side of the equation, which has to do with GDP, which is the gross domestic product, right? And therefore, if it is that our GDP is falling on account of the fact that a significant portion of our GDP comes from the energy sector and production is falling, you're going to have a smaller GDP figure. Mm-hmm. And the debt as a percentage of that obviously is going to be higher, right? Now, Bruce, the issue I have with is this, right? Everything in this country is, when it comes to the economy, is the government and the government and the government. When Joseph Mandela, former U.S. ambassador, came here, when he first came here, right? Mm-hmm. One of the first speeches, in fact, the first speech that he gave, I think he was addressing some seminar, some meeting that was held by the American Chamber of Commerce. And he commented that he couldn't understand how come the government of Trinidad and Tobago was so heavily involved in the economy in terms of how many different things were state-owned. And he was making the point that does not exist in the United States, right? That the majority of the economy is in private hands. The private sector basically runs and responsible for the economy. Yes, there will be things that the government will do with respect to taxes and the other basic things. But the economy in the United States is driven primarily by the private sector. In fact, Donald Trump would have also made that comment that the U.S. economy rests heavily on the backs of small business. But in Trinidad and Tobago, for some reason, the business sector is heavily dependent on what the government doing. So they sit back and they fold their arms and let me see what the government going and do. Rather than they take the lead. For years, we've been hearing about the diversification conversation. We need to diversify. Yes, we need to diversify. But it cannot be that you sitting and waiting to see what the government going to do. If you have a business idea, Bruce, you need to wait for Keith Rowley to tell you to go and start your business.
Nope.
Exactly. I do understand how many of these business owners are waiting, had to go and pick up the phone and call Dr. Rowley and say, Dr. Rowley, or call me, but I'm thinking about opening a business. What do you think? It does not work that way, right? Then they will come and talk about the ease of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago, that it takes too long to start a business, to register a business, and strides have been made to improve that. I think under the UNC, it was to register a business, they said it was 3 to 5 working days. I think now it's probably about 5 to 7. But why do we blame the government when it is the public servants whose responsibility it is to deal with these things? So if it is that you go and to do a name search, I think the facilities are available online now that you could do a name search and so on, and to submit the documents and such. But there's a process that it has to go through, and if the people who work in the registration department under the office of the Attorney General, it's their responsibility to do the things. While the government may put things in place from a technological standpoint, you cannot affect mindset. I'm not saying that is the case throughout, but there are some people who are still stuck in the old ways. The general population has a mindset or a perception of the public service that if you go to any government office, go there with the expectation that you're going to get poor service. And that has been something that has been around for years. So that it's like you're going to a police station. Most people tell you they dread going into a police station because they expect when they go into the police station that they're going to be treated a certain way. They expect a certain level of aggression from the police officers. Some long face like, oh God, what you come here for? Yeah, what is you want? So that when somebody goes to a police station and they get good treatment, they're surprised. That's why some people just do like to interact with police officers, because the general perception is that, the police is all rough and tumble and so on. But that isn't always the case. But even if that is the case, that is responsibility of the Commissioner of Police to ensure that there is that customer service element incorporated into your training.
Yeah.
But even so, let's face it, the fact is we know that there are a lot of people who go into the police service just for the sake of, because they want to be able to advantage people.
Oh, yes.
I have a man who do me wrong and I want to drop a hard slap on him a long time. And I want to be able to do it and he can't hit my back.
In school, they always used to bully me in school, all right?
Yeah.
I couldn't join the service.
Yeah.
I see them bully me now when I bounce them up somewhere.
Right.
You didn't used to go so school? You can't remember me? All right,
come.
License and registration, please. Come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Step out of the car.
I don't play raising your voice to me because you'll get locked up.
Yeah.
Right? Behave yourself. It's like, all right, boss.
Today, you're going to get locked up. Today.
Right. So therefore, there needs to be that whole cultural shift, that whole mindset with respect to public service. And I must admit, we are seeing those changes. Yeah. This administration, which has made significant changes with respect to the use of technology in improving the level of service and the convenience to citizens. So there are a lot of things that you could do from home. You can sit down in front of your computer on your phone and do that you couldn't years gone by. You had to go and stand up in a line in some office somewhere, and they had to go and pull a big book or something to be able to attend to you. Now everything is online, right? You need to file your taxes online, whereas before you had to go and get this form and fill out and all of this kind of thing. So credit needs to be given to the government. The handling of the court matters now, whereas before you had to go and sit down in a physical court. That's no longer the situation. You sit on home, they send you a Zoom link, you click on your link, judge come up, attorneys come up, and you in court in your living room, or you're sitting by your dining table and you in the courtroom. All of these different things, the millions of dollars that the UNC was complaining about, the government was paying amalgamated to transport prisoners $80 million a year or something, so that they said, these things are no longer so. You have a room in the prison, you come, link, turn on, judge, attorneys, everything happening, and you're finished, they escort you back to your cell. You don't have to leave the grounds of the prison. Right? That 80 million is a thing of the past. That contract, which was instituted by the Pandey administration, which the UNC people don't like to talk about. No, they like to talk about it. And it was this Keith Rowley administration that put an end to it. But they wouldn't give Keith Rowley any kudos for that. You know why? Because then that, of course, belies the view that he's a 1%, that he is in the back pocket of the 1% and he's an Oreo. But this constant focus on the government, and if it is you're going to come on the radio to criticize and to make a claim that we were downgraded, is that something for you to be proud of? We were not downgraded. It was simply, as I said, the rating simply reaffirms that we are investment grade with respect to the credit rating aspect of it. Outlook, negative, right? And again, it is because of certain macroeconomic fundamentals, most of which the government has no control over. Because Keith Rowley can't go and stand up by any of these gas fields and clap twice and hop on one foot, and gas will develop in the ground, right? So the only thing that could be done, again, the energy companies, I think there's a bid round coming up that and we have proven reserves. It is now just for them to be able to develop some of these different fields. We know what would have happened again. Well, one of the first things that this administration did when they came in 2015 is that they were seeking to accelerate this Lauren Manatee field, the gas deals with Venezuela. Unfortunately, developments in Venezuela, U.S. sanctions and so on, put a halt to that. But had that been able to develop, Trinidad and Tobago, I believe, would have been in a much better place, or would have been on its way to a much better place. So there is definitely that need for diversification, but it cannot be placed solely at the feet of the government. The private sector has a role to play. All of these different sectors that they could invest. Look at it now. Now we talk about the issue of foreign exchange, right, Bruce?
Yeah.
And when was the last time you hear companies complaining about they ain't getting foreign exchange? We know there's still an issue, right? But the complaints aren't as loud.
True. But
there are companies, Bruce, that are involved in the export sector who earn foreign exchange. So they sell their stuff abroad and they get their US currency, as the case may be. But the thing is that they're not remitting it in Trinidad. What a lot of these companies, these manufacturers have now done is open accounts in the US. So they have these accounts in US banks. And when it is that to get paid, their customers are paying the money into these US accounts and staying outside. Now, to some extent, I can't blame them, because if it is, your argument could very well be, if I have a US account in Trinidad and when I get paid by my suppliers, I put my money into my account. But when I go to the bank to get access to the bank, is telling me I can't get my money. I have a problem with that. It's not that I want to buy the bank money. I have US in my account and you're telling me I can't get it because of the availability of hard currency and so on. Or not even hard currency, they will tell you, well, we can't wire transfer because we have so many back orders. But this is something that has existed for years. Back when I was in the bank up until 2007, I remember business people used to be coming in and complaining about that who want to send money for their children, to pay for the children's school fees abroad, who have their suppliers to pay, and sometimes they had to wait 2-3 weeks, sometimes a month. But if these companies are not remitting their US funds to Trinidad, so they're leaving it in their bank accounts outside, and it makes sense. So therefore, if it is I have a supplier to pay, I could just send instructions to my Bank of America or Chase or whoever and give instructions for them to wire the money or just transfer the money, because my supplier might probably have an account in the same bank, and they're doing that. But once US becomes available here, some of them still seeing it fit to come and take that money to buy up the US here, even though you have yours outside, because you want to preserve it. So there needs to be some level of give and take if it is that the system is to work. We need to understand that our foreign income has fallen because, again, of what is happening in the energy sector. Now we see the price of energy commodities going back up, gas, oil, but it's now a production issue on our side. So if it is production is falling, prices are rising, it's either you're going to remain stable in terms of the returns that you're getting, and depending on how much production falls, you're actually going to see a reduction in foreign reserves. But we, the citizens, also have to take some level of blame for what is happening because of our taste for everything foreign. Imagine we importing foreign water to drink. Well, you're for real, you're going to the groceries, Zephyr Hills, and all of these different brands, these foreign brands. I did have a market for it who want to drink Perrier. What the hell happened to Blue Waters and Oasis and all these things? I love my Blue Waters. I love the taste. That's what I buy. Well, you want the Sunny and this and all of these other foreign brands. The Sunny.
I ain't about that, no.
I don't deal with that Sunny.
That is, anyway, let me don't say that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you want to say.
Let me don't say that.
That's a very good name, the Sunny.
I reserve my comment.
Yes. I mean, everybody have the taste. You know, that Blue Waters is my preference.
Exactly.
But all of these bottles of water that they have, these fancy bottles, you know, and they know how to catch Chinese, eh? Just bring it in a nice bottle. Of course, there's a bottle I could keep as a souvenir, boy. I'll keep this bottle and I'll put more water in it when I go into the gym. Let me look expensive now. You know? That kind of thing. Or I take this to and when I go into work, I walk in with this bottle so they will figure, well, I only buy an expensive water.
And you have a bottle.
But foreign currency has to be used to purchase these things.
Water via TNT.
Yeah. I mean, half of these things when you go to the grocery stores and you see all of these, for instance, with respect to VAT, when the government came in and they removed VAT on certain food items, not all as the UNC would like you to believe. And some of these luxury items that people, the average citizen, does not buy. So when they were talking about maraschino cherries and caviar and all of these different things, who buying these things? Right? Certain restaurants, high-end restaurants where the clientele might have had an acquired taste from traveling abroad and they want to come back to Trinidad. And you know, it's all about flam. Yes, everybody must see that I am ordering steak tartare and all of these different things. Just to what? To keep up appearances. But think up on the other side of it, the impact that it is having on the country's foreign reserves. And I am saying that the diversification thrust has to be led by the private sector. Look at what Associated Brands is doing. They are now spreading their arms abroad, and something they've been doing for a while. The Catch brand.
Yeah. They're
looking to market that in Europe, and they seem to be doing very well. In fact, one time, not so long ago, I heard the chairman, Arthur Lockjack, making the point that when it comes to US currency to handle their business, Associated Brands is self-sufficient. So what happens in the local banking sector with respect to access to foreign currency doesn't impact them.
You see?
And why is it that more exporters cannot follow that model?
But Dominic, how would you go about doing that? Is it that you would have an account on the outside? A bank account on the outside? And okay, so then that account now will facilitate payments in that currency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, cool.
Correct. Yeah, so you open your account on whichever US bank, and therefore when it is that your foreign customers have to pay you, you just send them the wire transfer info details for your bank, if it's Chase Manhattan or Bank of America or Wells Fargo, whoever it is, and they wire the money into your account there, and when you need to pay your suppliers, you just send instructions to the bank, telling them to wire the money to this or whoever. So you are doing online banking, my US bank, in Trinidad. So the money doesn't come here at all. Right? Yeah. So, and a lot of them are doing that. They don't have, because there's no shortage of US in the US. So you don't have that problem. And the thing too, Bruce, it is much, and this is what the banking sector in this country needs to look at. It is easier to open a bank account in the United States than it is to open a bank account in Trinidad.
Hey, boy.
I have an account, Bruce, with Bank of America in Wiles Road in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale. All I needed to open that account was my passport and a document with a US address on it so that they could send me mail. And because my family, we have this vacation home and things, so all our mail come there. And it didn't have to be in my name. I had nothing in my name at the time there, right? So I just went and I got a statement I think it was my brother's bank statement or something, and I took it. I didn't need to get any written authorization from him as what obtains in Trinidad. If you're using a utility bill that's not in your name, you have to get written authorization from whoever is the person, and you have to get a copy of the person ID. 2 things. Passport and a document with a US address. And in 15 minutes, an account was open for me, and they're asking you too if you want a credit card one time. No credit history in the US, right?
I need to call my uncle.
But in Trinidad, 2 forms of ID. Utility bill. If the utility bill not in your name, you need to get written permission from the person and a copy of their ID, right? All of these things that they want.
Yeah, but you
the only thing they're asking for yet is a lung, a kidney, a pint of blood on your firstborn. Everything else.
You forgetting one other thing, partner. A job letter.
I forgot that one.
Now hear the thing with that. The twin turned 18 earlier this year. So I was trying to get something for them to do in the meantime, because they between this time to go and get started their other studies now. And they needed a bank account,
right,
for the company to send the salary to that. So I made some calls and to find out they need a job letter. They need a job letter. But if they ain't get the job yet, where they get the job letter from?
Yeah.
Something should be put in place for when children turn 18, right? They can come and open a bank account, begin the little savings, and when they do get a job, you understand, they could take the money, have the company send the salary to that bank account.
Right.
There are little things that I think they really need to work on, and I know everything is so strict because of money laundering, but oh gosh, we are sure we could find easier ways to get these things. I mean, at the end of the day, remember, the account is monitored by the bank. So if it is, you see money in excess or whatever, keep going into the bank every so often, obviously that's a red flag, and you freeze the damn account.
Yeah.
What's so hard in that? So I don't know now, boy. I don't know.
Yeah, because I remember back in my time when I was in the bank, they only required a job letter if you're opening a checking account, and the reason for that was to make sure that you have a consistent form of income coming in, because they didn't books and writing bounce checks,
right,
which is against the law. So you needed to provide a job letter for that, but for normal savings accounts, you didn't need that. Now my understanding is you need a job letter regardless of whether it's a checking or savings account. Some of them wanted to bring pay slip and all kind of thing too. And yeah, but you're right. And so they put and to some extent, Bruce, it's a strategy, I think, on the part of the banks, is to get parents, because some of these banks have accounts that are geared towards specifically for children, young adults, teenagers and so on, to get you to open the account before. So you open the account, this was one of these children accounts, whatever as the case may be, so they can see, well, okay, they have it before, so when they reach that age. Yeah. But some of them, they put restrictions, so once the child reaches 18 or 19, you have to switch to some different type of account as the case may be, to build their account base. So all these different types of marketing strategies. But again, that is not something that the government has control over. The Banking Association of Trinidad, the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, they make their decisions based on these matters. So that when you want to talk about ease of doing business, that has to be factored in as well, because it makes no sense that you start a business, but you can't open a bank account in which to put your money. And the bank, when they want all of these different documents, if it's a limited liability company, you have to bring your certificate of incorporation, your articles of incorporation. They want your financials from the last how much years, 2-3 years worth of financials. But if I'm a new company and I'm now starting up, they want cash flow projections and all of these different things. I mean, all of these are a disincentive for some people. And that is why you have a lot of people who would just simply say, I'm going to go in the credit union and open an account there. So they need to meet people halfway. right? And these are some of the things that, again, the government gets blamed for when they talk about ease of doing business. Opening a bank account is a critical aspect of doing business.
And you believe I had an issue some years ago with I wouldn't call the name of the credit union, but what happened is my mom, she was in the credit union, and what she did, up to this day, I just call it a starter account. I don't know what they call it at the time.
Right.
My brother and I were still in school, and she was money from her salary would have come out every month to go into that account for us, right? So, and when we turn 18, we would start making our contributions to the account. So she explained to me, about building credit and, I said, okay, cool, no problem. So I waited a couple of years after I turned 18, continue putting. And I decided that day, all right, let me start to build a little credit. I'm going and buy a mattress. I'm going and buy a mattress. So I'm going and get money borrow to buy a mattress. At the time I was working peaks. So my salary was, my salary was nice. And I could have bought the bed cash, but again, like I say, it's to build the credit. So I went into them, carried the necessary documents, and the lady that I spoke to told me that I wouldn't be able to do that at this time. So I continue to ask her why they want to see how am I doing where my contributions are concerned every month. I forget what it's called it. Every month. So I say, but every month I come and I pay the same amount that used to come out of my mom's salary. I continue to pay that.
Right.
I think it was for the past 3 years. I say, so now I would like to, get a loan to start to build my credit. Papa, they give me beans. I say, but the mattress cost $1,200. I say, you could see clearly from my salary that I could afford to buy the mattress cash.
Right.
What's the problem? You know what's the end result of that, Dominic? Well, here we're going on. Give me all my money in my account, close it off, I go in someplace else. But still, you have to wait. I say, listen to me. I want my money now. I'm not leaving here unless I get it. Now, back then, Dominic, your boy didn't have no children, and the level of the ignorance now, boy, was all the way up here. Right. So my voice started to get loud in the people in them establishment. I say, you hear what I telling you? I'm not coming back tomorrow or no next day. I can't get a loan from always. How much days now I come in here? Give me all of my money. Right?
Yeah.
And I will take my business elsewhere. Simple. And I sit down right inside of there waiting patiently. And next lady come out. At the time I wasn't studying who was manager and who was what. And next lady come out to talk to me. Well, assuming she probably was somebody higher than who I was dealing with.
Right.
We're so sorry for the inconvenience, and you don't want to try to get. I say I don't want a loan again, or no? I want money. Give me money. But my mom wasn't too pleased, But I took the money, I put it into my bank account, and ended up joining. That is when I ended up joining Unit Trust.
Right. And
I put the money into Unit Trust. Because mommy wasn't too pleased, boy, you need to be in a credit union. I say, honey, and I explained to she what happened. Well, she called and all and take a turn in the tail. I say, I'm not going through that. You see, the day I was asking you about one? Right, because I would like to get back into one. I do some credit building through the bank, so I would like to join a credit union. I will do that sometime soon and sort out myself. I not one, but watch me. You see, so many different things. I don't know if they find I was too young. I don't know what. Up to this day, Dominic, if I tell you this was the problem, I'll be lying because I don't know. But I say, after a little, it's not to say that as it turned over to me being the one to pay on the account, I went and asked for a loan.
Right.
I wait a little 3 years. I pay all. You see how I pay in every month religiously. I come in and I pay in. Because at the time I didn't have no online banking. I didn't know nothing about letting them take it from your account to send it here and all that back, and I didn't know nothing about that. Physically, I get money and I go and I pay over the counter.
Right.
I can't get a loan? Okay, no problem. Can I have the money? And then the next thing too, the money that was in the account was more than the price of the bed. Is dividends is call it?
Well, they have shares.
Shares, that is what it is.
Yes, shares. Yes, so your shares will be generating dividends usually annually, but you had collateral to cover the loan. So
exactly. So what's the problem?
I do understand the lending policies of some of these institutions because some of the things that they look at, I mean, they will see you had a loan from 2 years ago or 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and you probably, if the loan was for 5 years, Bruce, so that is 60 months you were required to pay. You had 2 late payments. They will totally disregard the fact that out of 60, you had 58 months where you paid perfect. You know, they look at that too. Well, Mr. Thomas, we saw here that you had 2 months of late payments, and that because of that we can't get you the loan. So 2 with more than 58. All right, no problem.
How many? We have a few cable providers in the country, right?
Yes.
Right, we have a few. So right, nobody would know which one I'm talking about. Again, online banking.
Yeah.
The boy just sit down in front of the computer like he in the bank and he paying bills, man. Mommy just organizing this, bills paying, right? I get in how to put it, boy. Now if I say this, everybody gonna know who it is. I don't call no name here, right? I realize I get in a little notification. So I say, but what's going on here, boy? But when I check back, I end up paying, I think, $100 short. Right? So, no matter what going on, again, this notification coming. So I decided to call to find out what is going on. Then they're going to explain to me that they have some automated something. So from the time that automation realized that if you're supposed to pay 10 and you pay 9, you're going to get licks for that one that you pay. Plenty licks. So I when I call and I spoke to someone, I say, listen to me. During this entire pandemic, I have been paying this bill properly. I say 1 month was short by 1. And this is what I get in here? I say, are you serious? Well, Mr. Thomas, we do apologize, but it's an automated something. And all you need to fix that.
Fix it.
All you need to fix that. I say, because at the end of the day, if I fall short 6 months in a straight or 3 months or 2 months, all right, fine. No, hey, you're delinquent. But that's not the case. 1 month and you spread me over the coals. So I said, do I need to take my business elsewhere? Oh, no, Mr. Thomas, we will organize and we will remove the notification. So it so happened the notification never removed it. Because when I call back again, somebody tell me something different. They say they can't move it. I say, okay. But they tell me when I do pay, take a little picture, send it to the email, and they will sort it out. Well, I take a picture when I pay. And I make a nice note. A very nice note. I didn't use no obscene. Well, my mother read it, she said, but you're cussing them here still.
Yeah.
I didn't use no obscene language there. A nice note. And I get back a nice reply. I say, Oli, have to be mad. I say, no, is the problem? Oli don't know who is who.
Yes.
Right? And even self, forget the who is who. Look at how somebody's paying. You have to set up your algorithms, your whatever, your commands, however, set it up in such a way where you would see that, okay, this client is not a delinquent one.
Yeah.
in the years that you all have provided this service, the payments have been on point. So if you see one payment a little sketchy, oh gosh, wait to see the next payment go be sketchy before you do something now. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they need to. These facilities, they really need to work on that, because I have a similar problem that you have right now. Because every time I go and build you, they keep telling me payments up to July 1st, 0. Now it's reading payments up to August 2nd, 0. But I pay only every month. Right? Same thing, big picture. Now, I need to hire, I don't cuss, so I probably need to hire a professional cuss bud. Because it's ridiculous. Right? I don't play that. Because I only have my money, and yet still, your thing on my television is telling me no payments made. And I pay more than what I'm supposed to pay. All the time. It's better you all owe me than I owe you. That's my philosophy. And then, anyway, I'll deal with it. How much time we have there to take a call before the...
Yeah, we could take some calls, man. And like I said, do not call no company name. I will cut you off. I'm not even asking anything. Do not call no... Anytime I want to call any company, I cut it all off. Do not call no company name to put the radio station and no distribute. Right. Take our call here. Caller, good morning.
Morning, Bruce, Dominic.
Morning.
Well, let me tell you, all you have it nice. Because imagine, I was with a certain provider, and I changed provider, and was still getting a bill every month from the one that I stopped being with.
What?
So don't feel that you was nice. You had it nice. I still getting a bill for something I no longer have. So all you're good. Look at us. You're in the green. You get through.
You get through.
Yeah, GT, man. Because you know why it is for you to get a bill for something you don't have? Boy, listen, so this is where we at. This is where we at. But what are you going to do? On a serious note, I know passing here by the bank. I know, God, somebody had to do something a little different. I understand it's pension and whatever, but maybe they could do it a little early and get people in groups or find some way by account number or something to get people to come in a certain quantity and at certain times so they could send out notification. Because what I seen here this morning is just a petri dish. I passed by 3 banks and it's the same petri dish as here. So I don't know, maybe the banks could do something, the state could do something, could advise them how to function, because like people really unconcerned, no concern, or are not really sure what is the problem. But this is looking too nice. We're looking like we're going to end up in a problem again, because pension is for older folks. And if you put in the older folks at risk, we're going to really have a problem. So, as I say, somebody come up with a better idea now. Come up with a plan. You all gentlemen have a nice day.
Yeah, man. Take care. Caller, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Bruce.
Oi.
And Dominic, good morning to you all.
Morning.
I like the topic this morning is money. Bruce, and I want to stretch it so far. You know, if you go Western Union now, here what they're asking is if you're affiliated with any member of parliament. You know that now? You hear me?
But why they want to know that? I don't understand that.
Beg pardon?
Why they want to know that?
I don't know. So if I affiliate with any member of parliament, will I tell them, Bruce?
No.
Dominic? Bruce?
Oh, gosh.
I want to start this morning. You see, Farley Augustine, from a bag of codes, it just get dust, right? Dominic, you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, from a bag of causes get dust. Bruce, I noticed for Venezuelan, every time they hold them, it hotter Venezuelan reach of curfew, Bruce. Bruce, I noticed again, firemen had also rescued 9 people from hiker trips in Chagaramas. Bruce, are we real in Trinidad and Tobago? And the talking tongue, Nelson Mandela Park, 20 million. Dominic, you all right?
Yes. Yeah, man.
Mommy Sauce, good morning to you. And everybody love your face mask. They saw me with it and I asked them they asked me where I purchased it and I told them. So they love your face mask. Bruce, have a good one. Dominic, have a good one.
You too. But I think, Bruce, why they ask you about if you have any affiliation with politicians is because of again, under the Proceeds of Crime Act, they have what are called PEP, so politically exposed persons. So that would be anybody who is related to in any way to a politician, because there's a view that politicians who are stealing from the public purse and are looking for avenues by which to siphon that money could use friends or family members in order as conduits to funnel that money. Yeah. So that's why they want to know if you're what is defined as a politically exposed person. So if you're related to anybody, not just politicians, but any senior government official like a judge or a magistrate or a permanent secretary, any high public official,
Remember to ask you something more that after the break.
Yeah.
Caller, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning. Tobago. My financial guru, male guru, female guru, Mr. Andy, everybody in Tobago. Morning. You see, because we had a man depositing, you could only deposit 50,000 the other day, and he had a man depositing 49,500. Not so, Dominic?
Yes, sir.
You remember, and all of that come out of what happened under the people's or the so-called people's partnership after it mashed up. But, Dominic, I heard you said something. Now, this is something been happening for years, where businessmen who export their goods, bang their money abroad, and use their money to buy goods abroad to come back to manufacture. So therefore, they don't face the inflation rate that we would face when we buy from the banks here. Not so?
Correct.
Right. But if you notice, the group of people that do that continue to increase the price of goods and services, which shouldn't be. And tell you, the reason for that is because of the cost of the US. But they don't pay 7 to 1 or 6 to 1 or whatever, because their money is stayed right which part they get it. So they don't pay the exchange rate. And that's been going on. That is why the Supermarkets Association and some businesses has a monopoly. That is why you find the opposition could say that the government is causing the price of goods and services to go up. Why the grocery going up so much? And there are certain items in the supermarket doesn't have to go up because the manufacturer has his money abroad and buys his goods abroad with the same money and bring it back here. Gentlemen, all enjoy the day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Dominic, with that, we go to the break and we'll be right back.
Yes, sir.
To be with Farmer and the ecstatic with Marshall Montano. But 2021